And what are we here for, Diamond? What are we doing?
Welcome. So we are here today. First of all, rewind. Hey everyone, my name's Diamond. I'm the co-founder of Not Sorry Goods. We just opened a brand new retail space in downtown Ferndale. Come check us out at 22963 Woodward. A part of bringing this space to life was the amazing India Solomon. She painted this here mural that we are sitting on.
I did.
So this is actually our display / stage area. So we're here today. Gonna talk to you more about this design, more about fluid spaces, and just get all up in your business.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for it. Business is ready to be gotten all up in.
Yes. So I guess tell me about how we linked up. How did you link up with Not Sorry?
So I started shopping the brand maybe 5 years ago. I bought my first piece.
Okay, I didn't know
Probably
that.
a little less than 5. I'm exaggerating. It may have been 3,
Okay.
but it definitely was some years ago that I bought my first piece. Was bopping around the Rust Belt Market as I often do on Saturdays, and yeah, I want to say you guys have only bought 2 things from the Rust Belt Market, and
Okay.
You're Not Sorry is always a place that I'm drawn to
Hey.
because there's always something new. It's always something that says what I wanted to say on there.
Right.
So yeah, that's how I found you guys, and I followed you. I think I tagged you in a few things.
You did? I remember that.
Yeah. How'd you find me?
Oh wow. So yes, Instagram, always following people back, okay, they're cool, let me know more. But I really got more familiar with your work when you were doing pop-ups in Rust Belt. So I think you just started doing them this summer.
Yep.
And I don't really walk around that much when I'm at work because I really be working, y'all, but I promise I'm friendly. But my partner Jessica bought one of your shirts and has sent me a picture and was like, this is so dope. I was like, oh, I love this. So the next day I walked by. I think you had a little fan club by you, so I couldn't really introduce myself at the time. She'll deny it, but I synced it. And I was like, okay, I really love her work, really love you had purses, you had art. I was like, okay. I really like this concept too of fluid spaces, and me and Jess, we are finally figuring out, okay, we did actually get a space, because it takes a long time, y'all. Even if you think you got it, something could go wrong where now you don't got it. So I just didn't really tell anyone, but still had a conversation with you and was like, would you be maybe interested in doing the mural? Because we really love your fluid spaces and really want the space to be fluid, and that just seems like such a good match. Yeah. And for whatever reason, you say yes.
I did.
So now we're here.
I did. Now we're here. It was perfect match. Now I don't leave. I'm in here once a week.
Yes.
To steal clothes and take selfies. So at least once a week.
Yes.
What else? What's
so,
next? What
yes,
do you want to know?
tell me, I kind of already gave our whole backstory, but tell me more about Fluid Spaces, how you got started with it, and sort of where you see the project going.
Yeah, so Fluid Spaces at this point for me now feels like a lifetime in the making. It's certainly not what I plan to do. I'm trained as an urban planner. I got my degrees in public policy, urban planning, and real estate development. So went this very traditional route. I grew up on the west side of Detroit, between Detroit and Oak Park, went to Ferndale High. So it's also very special for my work to kind of be centered in Ferndale, where I kind of got a lot of my groundings and my bearings around my identity and who I am. So Fluid Spaces, I'd always been creative throughout my life. I sat at my grandmother's kitchen table and we made clothes together, we made jewelry. I would take her little fabric scraps and run into the back room and then tie it up into this little outfit and come run out and be like, Grandma, what you think? So, and my grandmother was a woman where everyone was always asking her, where did she get what she was wearing? Where did you get that jewelry? Where did you get that glow jean? Where did you get that? Where's that shirt? And she would always be able to say, for the most part, I made it.
Wow,
and that to me, it was always very powerful hearing that growing up, but I still never really made the connection between that and what I'm passionate about up until now. So honestly, I have no idea where Fluid Spaces came from. It's been this radical process of learning something new about myself every day and then reacting to that, like giving that thing space. Not just being like, oh, I kind of like this, all right, boom, but like, I'm really drawn to this, where can I take it? And being, a very organized academic person that is used to sort of a routine, like putting a lot of energy into that kind of space. Really right around the pandemic starting, a lot of life changes were happening. I had just bought my first house, like everything seemed to be changing all at once. Yeah, it was very celebratory, but I also found myself at a state where, I'd gotten my degrees, I had gotten this really good job coming out of college, gotten to where I thought I wanted to be, and I still was not happy. I still was battling depression. I still was sort of digging myself out of a hole every day to like show up and do what I thought I loved to do. And so I was like, that ain't right. This don't feel right. It doesn't feel right. So Fluid Spaces has been this radical act of tapping into what I feel. And I used to, so on the one hand, like I got my creativity from my grandmother, but my mom was also doing interior house projects. So I've always been very tied to like changing my space, and like as a kid I always wanted to repaint my room and redo things, like changing shit with the seasons. So I'm like, my space gotta reflect what I'm doing, who I am at the moment. And so Fluid Spaces is also this kind of like reclamation of space, and it's this statement that like your space should be movable, it should be dynamic, it should be your life should be movable, it should be dynamic. Nothing is stagnant, everything changes. And how do we build a space, a society, a world that is that's built to change and is not so dependent on things staying the same or consistency or so that's like the broad. I didn't even tell you what Fluid Spaces was. I just kind of was like, here's what I feel like and what I think. But Fluid Spaces, it's still growing. We're not even a year old yet, but it started with me releasing a set of prints. So I had just started painting during the pandemic. I painted, when I was younger, but it was always for a house project or something very specific. I had never just allowed myself to free paint, and I did that
just for fun.
Yeah, just for fun.
Yes.
So I did that, and I sort of like was just painting every now and then, and I looked up and I was like, oh, I got a collection of pieces. And I was lucky to have started to make friends with artists and be in the Detroit art scene and just kind of like learning what's going on, learning this whole new way of life, and luckily have people supporting me in publishing my art and bringing it to the masses and being like, oh, this is a thing that I can share, that I can do something with. So it started with me releasing a series of prints, and then trying to work at the intersection of art and the whole like real estate side of things. I started working on smaller scale interior projects, using my own house as sort of like a model for what I can do on the interior. So Fluid Spaces is also kind of it could be an interior design thing. It could be just art. Like, yeah, honestly. Like it, and then most recently it's fashion. So tapping back into, my grandmother and what she established, and just trying to like live that out and really be in, like really use it for fashion design and claiming that space for Black luxury in fashion design, not just mass production, not just t-shirts. T-shirts are great. I love t-shirts. but I'm really claiming Fluid Spaces as a Black owned luxury brand that will be a little more narrow, I think, in its second year of operation. Yeah.
So what new products can we expect? I like luxury.
So this year we tested out hand painted bags with Mira Estelle, another Black woman designer. We've got these tees, which are like these flowy, very like good quality. If you buy it big enough, you can wear it as a dress, or it could be a really tight tee, or it just could be whatever you want.
They're really soft too.
Very soft, right? Turning those into like a two-piece set type situation, which I just wore the other day. So I'm gonna try to scale that up. And then for fall, I'm looking at like more joggers and loungewear. That's has my art on it, which is I think pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I really need a fluid space, like just whole sweatsuit, just like tracksuit,
Completely.
just the full thing.
Yeah.
I want the socks too.
Ooh, come on, socks. Socks too. Yeah. So that's what's in the works. But I'm also still working on the art side of things. So balancing the fashion with commissions and trying to apply for more murals and more projects like this.
So I guess what would you say is sort of like the biggest difference, or what was the shift or the last straw that got you to see, okay, I really want to focus more on my artwork and less on, this sort of corporate, sort of culture that I've been, sort of indoctrinated into, and like you're supposed to be so happy and like worship it. When did you realize, okay, like I need to let this go, or like it's not working for me?
Yeah, so for me, that was, I've always wanted to make an impact. Like I've always told myself I want to like make change. I want to make an impact, and it takes a long time to really figure out what that looks like. I think there are a lot of fields, especially in the social justice space, or planning, or looking at, communities and community development. There's a lot of like talk about change or theories of change and all of this sort of like scholarly literature around what it means to change, and I found like increasingly that was not reflecting the voices that I heard from the communities that I know and the communities that I'm part of. And I always was just in this space of like, why aren't we talking to people? Like, why are the four of us sitting in this room brainstorming about a program or a strategy that's going to impact, that's supposed to impact communities, and we're not really in the there's there's little representation. We're not in the community. We're not listening in, and it's not localized enough. Like what's gonna work in Chicago is not gonna always work in Detroit, or what works on the west side of Detroit is not gonna work on the east side. So there's also this lack of like just hyper local investigation of like, what is going on? What are people doing? What are people struggling with? And for me, I was like, I've got all these degrees, I'm like doing all this hard thinking, I'm like creating these funds and these programs and stuff, and I'm not seeing the change. I'm not seeing the impact. And there's definitely change that takes a long time, right? So like I battle with myself and being like, oh, am I just being impatient? Am I not sort of seeing the sort of systems level impact that this work is making? But I just have to acknowledge myself as a person who needs to see the change in real time. And so when I started to see the way that people would receive my artwork and react to my artwork and see it literally in the moment change something in their heads around what they thought Black art was, or their very own relationship to art. Like I've had a lot of people who are like, I don't know anything about art. I hadn't even thought about art, but when I look at yours, I feel something. And that to me is
powerful.
Impact is powerful. It's my personal impact that I see. It's maybe not like, I don't know, some big old like thing, but for me that was the tangible thing that I needed to feel fulfilled. And then beyond that, like on a more personal level, seeing young Black girls like who are creative and who are like, wow, I've been drawn to this type of art, but I haven't really seen a place for myself in it, or haven't seen someone who looks like me do this type of art and take it to this level. So that's what I'm in it for. I'm doing it for us and trying to like streamline that path for sure.
And to show that there are options, like I still remember, even to this day, Instagram has made the world so small, and social media in general, where like you see more representation, but it's still not enough, like that's so important, like especially for our communities to see like, okay, you're doing it, you're making, a living, and like you're happy, and you're doing your art and it's fulfilling. To see examples of that is really everything.
Yeah. I think the other challenge was seeing myself have to navigate different versions of myself, obviously in the corporate world. Like we talk about this a lot, you have to put a mask on, or you can't necessarily wear what you want to wear, or you've got to like present a certain way. And I literally was jumping in and out of identities, I felt like, all day. And I didn't want to do that no more. I was like, I just want to be me. I want to be my free, like sexy, half naked self, but also be super, high functioning, very intelligent, very like figuring shit out. I don't want to deal with any. I didn't want to deal with any hierarchy. I always had challenges with like, oh, this person is above you.